Thank you, Christina. So y'all ready for the game today? It's kind of fun seeing the greens and the blues and all the energy that is going on around this day. So today is the third week of our new series for 2014, which is Soul Trek, the theme, and I want to just give a little short review over the last couple of weeks. We talked about the idea of a trek being a long and arduous journey. Now, it doesn't mean it has to be like bad, but a trek is something that calls for something more within us than just taking a cruise, just taking an easy trip. It's calling for the strength. It's calling for us to bring that deeper part of ourselves out. And as we go on a trek, we need tools. And when we're going on a physical trek, on a journey, we need our good shoes. We need our plane ticket. We need our maps. Yeah, we need those kinds of things. And when we go on a trek, usually we are going to be facing change. Whenever we travel, we have change in culture, we have change in rules, we might have change in time zone. Ron just came back from Argentina. He was on a trek most recently. And so last week we talked about that idea of being able to flow with change and change our habits, and not necessarily to get rid of a habit, but to replace it. So today, what we're focused on is our maps, because we can't go on a trek if we don't know where we're going. Yeah? I suppose you could. You just step out and see what happens, but it's helpful to have a map. And so where are we going? In Star Trek, they're out exploring new worlds. And we, on our inner soul trek, are also exploring new worlds, but we're exploring inner worlds. And this journey, this soul trek that we are on, is a journey of remembering who we are. This is a journey of remembering what you are. It's a journey of remembering where you came from. We are one with the Spirit of God. We're one with infinite love. We're one with this eternal force. And we come from this place of expansiveness and eternity into these physical bodies. So we come from this grand, expanded place, and then we're in this, yeah? And we have to take that energy and learn to maneuver it, learn to manifest it, learn to be in this place. And those of us who have been around infants, you know how they're in that place where they're in both worlds. And I think it goes beyond just being infants, that it's there for a while. I remember just holding Caroline when she was an infant, and she would just, in the middle of the night, she would just look at me, and I would get just hit with this love that was so powerful that would come out of her eyes that it almost literally would knock me over. It was like there was this laser beam just coming out of her eyes, and I never knew when it was going to happen, and I never knew when she was going to do it. And I called it beaming. It was just this wonderful experience. Don told me at the first service, he said that some friends of his had 2 children, and the wife had just had a baby, and the other child was about 4. And he said that they heard the 4-year-old go into the room where the baby was and look over the crib and say to the baby, "Can you tell me what God is like? Because I've already forgotten. I'm already forgetting." So we come into this life and we forget, don't we? We have to be reminded. We forget that we are one with one another. We forget that we come from that source because we get lost in this physical body. We get lost in this dimension. And there's an old Jewish story about a soul that is being born. And as the soul is being born, is about ready to come, and it's so conscious of life and of God. And the angel at the last minute says to the baby, and puts her finger right over her lip and says, "Shh, shh, now, you must forget. You must forget." And so the baby is born, and it is said that is why we have this indentation over here on our lip, It is the last mark of the angel telling us, forget, so that you can remember again. And so our soul trek is the map, the passport, the journey is about remembering who we are, remembering what we are, remembering where we came from. A journey of awakening and forgetting, and awakening and forgetting. Now, the truth is that this journey of awakening affects us all, and we aren't on it alone. Jesus said, when I am lifted up, I shall draw all men to me. He also said, if you have a light, put it up high, don't hide it. And the intention behind those words is, as you are lifted up, you lift up your neighbor. As you are lifted up, you lift up your family. As we awaken in consciousness, we can't help but affect the energy field. We can't help but affect those that are around us, and we can't help but affect the world. And the same is true on the other side, isn't it? When you are down, not that there's anything wrong with having negative or sad emotions, but when we continually stay in that place, we can pull that energy down as well. So we're a part of this trek in consciousness that affects the collective. So what is the collective consciousness, the collective unconscious? It was a word that was coined by Jung. Charles Fillmore called it race consciousness. In other words, it's that, and maybe Teilhard de Chardin referred to it as the noosphere, like this thought envelope, this energy field that is all around us, that we are connected to, that we are one mind, that we are one heart, that we are one spirit. An author who wrote the book Quest, I. Brown, called the experience that every human has, or every human possesses, is creative capacity. And that is to take pure energy that is emanating from the universe, and we use that pure energy that is emanating from the universe. And how do we use the pure energy that's emanating from the universe? We use it and we form it through our thoughts and our words. We put shape and form to things. We bring this pure energy into this material world. We bring it into our bodies. We bring it into the third dimension. We bring it into manifestation. And together, we create what he calls a creative field. Now, a creative field is an energy that you are drawn to. So our families have creative fields, our homes, our places of work. And a creative field draws like-minded people. Yeah, so we could have creative fields that are positive, that are uplifting, that are inspiring, and we can have creative fields that are angry and vengeful and warlike. Yes? The creative field that I feel like we're creating here at Seattle Unity, or any place of worship, is a place where we leave the outside world out there for a minute. This is a sanctuary. And one of the visions that I have for the creative field that we are is that we're kind of at a mountaintop. And so the music and everything, it's just to lift us up, to lift up our spirits, so that we can leave whatever it is behind, whatever the day-to-day worries are behind, and we can get a higher perspective. We can come together in prayer. We can come together in worship. We can come together in music. The message, all of it is so that we remember together in community. We remember who we are. We remember where we came from. And as we remember together, again, we uplift all. So we're having firsthand experience, I think, with the creative field in Seattle today because of the Seahawks and the Super Bowl and the game and the excitement that is building around the city, yeah? And the number 12 that we see everywhere. I was with my son-in-law earlier this week, and he's a rabid Seahawk fan. And so I said, are you having a Super Bowl party? And he said, no, I'm not having a Super Bowl party. I said, why not? And he said, well, because the last time the Seahawks were doing really well, I had a party and they lost. So I'm not having another party. And he said, besides that, nobody would come to my house anyway because they lost last time. I said, so, well, what are you doing? And he goes, I'm having a Super Bowl. We're having a party at a friend of mine's house. He goes, but it's not about the food. It's not about the drink. It's not about conversation. It's about the game. So only serious people are invited. And we're going to focus on the game. The kids are going to be off in another room. It's not about the kids. It's about the game. And what was interesting is that one of his relatives was in town for the weekend, and I said, so when are you leaving? And she said, Sunday. I said, you're going to miss the game? And she said, yeah, I'm going back to San Diego. I'll watch the game from there. And I said, well, why didn't you stay? She said, because if they lose, Matt's going to be so upset that I don't want to be around him at all. And the truth is, I understand that experience of losing, obviously being a Cub fan. I understand that devastation that could possibly happen, And so we look at this creative field that is happening today, that is happening all around Seattle, and we hear all this stuff about the 12th man. So I want to unpack it a little, which we did a couple weeks ago, but go into it a little more deeply today. And that is, first I want to look at the number 12, because the 12 is a very powerful number. And it is a number that we see all throughout the world, all cultures, all religions. So here are some of the 12s that I found. There are 12 tribes of Israel, 12 disciples, 12 astrology signs, 12 people in a jury, 12 in the Chinese zodiac. There are 12 months. King Arthur's Round Table had 12 knights. There are 12 face cards in a deck. There is the 12-step program. There are 12 minor prophets in the Old Testament. There are 12 imams in Islamic tradition, and the Buddhists recognize 12 causes of existence, or nidanas. So we see this 12, and so I look around Seattle and I see this 12, and it's like, for me, I think what it represents, and for us right now, is it represents the collective. It represents the creative field. So I want to go back again to the history of the 12th man, which began in 1922 in Texas for the Aggie team. And I got this off of the website of the A&M website. So apparently the Aggie team was horrible. They weren't very good at all. And they had a lot of injuries. And so the coach is like, they're losing, they're not doing so well. And he's feeling like if they have one more injury, they're not going to have enough players. So one of the players used to play, but now he's a basketball player. His name was E. King Gill. And he was he was a football player, now he's a basketball player. And he said to him, would you suit up just in case we need you? So E. King Gill says, sure. So he suits up and he stands along the sidelines and he waits. He waits to be called in. He's the 12th man. Well, the Aggies went on to win. He wasn't needed, but he stood there through the whole game, and he said, I wish I could say that I went in and ran for the winning touchdown, but I did not. I simply stood by in case my team needed me. Well, what's happened since then is that energy of standing, the 12th man, and being present, has translated over to the whole school. And so there's a statue in front, too, of E. King Gill, who's standing, and he's in readiness, and he's waiting. And so it's translated over into the culture of this school. That spirit of readiness for service, a desire to support, and enthusiasm helped kindle a flame of devotion among the entire student body, a spirit that has grown vigorously throughout the years. The entire student body at A&M is the 12th man, and they stand during the entire game to show their support. The 12th man is always in the stands
waiting to be called on if they are needed. Isn't that great? Now, the story varies, but apparently a staff member ended up working for the Seahawks and brought the idea of the 12th man to Seattle, and there was a lawsuit. They were sued for using the 12th man. And it was settled by Seattle paying money to them, as well as recognizing that that's where the 12th man originated. But when you think about that creative field, that energy of the 12th man, the 12th woman, the 12th one, it's very powerful. And I know that at Wrigley Field, always during a Cubs game, the 9th inning, everybody stands up. You stop talking, you stop eating, you stop drinking, you stand there and you focus. Just for that inning, you focus, yeah? And there's something about, this creative field that we create. So we create a creative field in worship. We create a creative field that is palatable when we go to a concert and we sing together. We feel it at sporting events. We connect with the collective. We connect with that which is bigger than ourselves. We connect with that 12th man. Jesus said it this way when he said, "Whenever 2 or more are gathered in my name, there am I in the midst." Now, he wasn't talking about football or baseball or even a concert, but he was talking about what happens when we come together in consciousness. When we come together in consciousness, something else emerges. And that's why when we're suffering, when we need prayer, it's important that we go to someone else to hold that for us and ask us for that support. So that focus becomes a way for us, that focus in stadiums, in concerts, in worship, in meditation. It is a way for us to connect with each other. Now, an example that I have is when the Cubs, last time they almost won the pennant, which was about 10 years ago or something like that. And it looked like they had it. I mean, at this point, I sort of stand back and watch because I'm not going to get suckered in again, Except I did get suckered in. And I could taste it, I could feel it, I could see it. I knew the pennant was coming. I knew it was happening. And as I was watching the game at home, there was the foul ball that went to left. It was an easy out, easy catch, and the outfielder goes to catch it. And at the last minute, one of the fans reaches up and takes the ball and catches it. Now, did it matter? No, it didn't matter. It didn't change. It was a foul ball, so nothing changed in the game. And we were only like 2 outs or something very close to clinching the pennant for the first time in 60 years or something like that. I don't know. But in that moment, I knew that it was over. I watched the foul ball. I knew it was over, and I knew that every other Cub fan in the world knew that it was over in that moment. And I don't know how I can explain that except that I knew. I knew the team knew it. I knew everybody knew it. And I was with my family, and my family is like, "What is your problem? You're so negative. Just stop it. It's fine. It doesn't change a thing." And I'm like, "It's over. It's over. It's over. It's over." And it was over. I mean, it was over. So I don't know, it raises the question, is the creative field, the noosphere that exists around Wrigley Field and the Cubs, is it one of losing that could never change? I don't know. But we connect. We connect we connect psychically, in a sense, with each other. When we are in that kind of a place, we connect with the collective. So it's important that we never underestimate the power of the 12th man, meaning the community, the group. So when we meditate together, we have a better experience, don't you? I know when I'm alone versus when I'm in community, my meditations go a lot deeper. And the idea behind the 12th man, I love that image of standing there and being ready, suited up and ready. And the image that I get is also in the book of Matthew in Scripture. Jesus said, "So you also must be ready, because the Son of Man will come at an hour when you do not expect him." So the Son of God comes like a thief in the night. Now in Unity, we don't believe that Jesus is going to come back, but rather that the second coming is the awakening of each one of us. It's the remembering who we are, right? And so we have this image of standing and waiting upon God. Stay here, keep watch with me, and wait for that moment when the Spirit speaks and emerges through each one of us. In the book, The Power of Habit, the author is speaking about how we can change, how we make changes. And one of the most interesting things is the 12-step program, in that of all the treatments that there are for alcoholism and drug addiction and overeating and all the rest of it, the one that seems to work over and over throughout the years and has the biggest success rate is the 12-step program. Why? Because one, it asks us to accept a higher power that we can define for ourselves. But the other reason is it's community, isn't it? When you're in AA or any of the other 12-step groups, you get a sponsor first. And then you go to meetings. So when you want to drink, you go to a meeting. You have that community. And that, according to the author, is one of the reasons of the success of the 12-step program. Because why? It calls upon the 12th man, in a sense. It calls upon the creative field that is created by that program. So the truth is that yes, we're affected by this creative field. We're being affected by it right now. I'm not even a football fan, and I'm a football fan now. You know, I'm being affected by the creative field. But Barbara Marcinia said that everything changes when you start to emit your own frequency rather than absorbing the frequencies of those around you. When you start imprinting your intent on the universe rather than receiving an imprint from the universe. So again, it's like throwing a rock in a pond, yeah? We can imprint the universe rather than having it always imprinting us. So one of the thoughts that comes up for me is if we can influence a football game, and granted, maybe it's only influence because we're so loud and, you know, they can't hear on the field. But if we can influence a football game, if I can know in an instant that the Cubs have lost without speaking to another Cub fan, but I know that they all know it too, what if we were able to take that collective energy that we hook into and then change the world for the good? You know, we have big stuff, that California is about to, they're in 100 days, run out of water. What's going to happen? You know, and it's not like we haven't known these things are coming, they're coming. But if we believe these teachings that we teach, could we not come together and influence it rather than being influenced by it? By creating a creative energy field of change and peace and plenty and solutions to the situations that are facing us. So although we're a part of the race consciousness or the collective, it doesn't mean that it controls our fate. It's important for us to step outside of it and influence it for the better. And that's where our spiritual practice comes in. So long ago, an angel pressed on your lip and said, shh, it's time for you to forget. So we're born into this forgetting, and then we begin our soul trek into remembering. Remembering who we are, remembering what we are, remembering where we came from, and knowing that we're not on this journey alone. Just as E. King Gill stood on those sidelines, ready to step in as the 12th man, so we too, in a sense, are standing on the sidelines. in a spirit of readiness to be called. So as we celebrate the Super Bowl today, and regardless of what happens, although I think Seattle's going to win, but so as we celebrate our sports, as we celebrate the Hawks today, may we also, when we see that number 12, know that it means something more, that it's a part of the collective, it's a part of the oneness that we are, and it's a symbol for how we come together and for how we can change. Go Hawks!